Hey, Matt Nostria, look at that. We got ourselves a brand new video here for the Top 10 show. Thanks to Brian Ward. I am John Roca.
And I am rock hard Matt Nost right now. It's a solid intro. Thank you, Mr. Ward. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, appreciate you text me asking me a question and kept it on the hush and then sent it to me. And I was like, ooh, that's really good. Thank you, Brian, because I didn't know what was coming down the pike. So to see that, it was like, that was really well done. It's nice and quick, so it gets into the video. It's kind of
it's scintillating is what it is. I like the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and I appreciate that. You know, kind of keeps it on brand. Then we get our pictures coming up and things of that nature. So it'll probably adjust a little bit more before we see it again. But I love what he did and did a fantastic job. So it's the little things like that. Plus, of course, Jake Yacovetta creating the overlay for us that we've got going on there for the show, you know, as we do this, entering, I don't know how many weeks we've been doing it now from our respective houses, but it's been at least a month, I think, right? It feels like that.
At least a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. At the, what is it, the 16th?
Yeah. As we're recording this.
Yeah, max would be 5 weeks, but a month's on.
Okay. Yeah. So what's going on with you, man? How's the whole week of self-isolation? Any new things you discovered? Any new things you've been doing?
Last minute, I had to. So the second tenant finally moved in. She had already rented the place out, but she's been in her other apartment for a while, and she's got 2 dogs. So just like it's going to come in stages. So today was stage 1, where she got the bulk of it here. But it was like yesterday and the day before was installing a mini split and then doing some last minute like touch ups before she moved in. So
nice.
To that, it's been a lot of indoors crap.
Have you watched anything new? Have you watched any new movies you hadn't watched before, or any TV shows you were thinking of taking a chance on?
Not this week. We started Miss America last night. That's good.
Oh yeah, the Cate Blanchett one. Is it good?
Cate Blanchett. Yeah, it's good. I like that one. It's got a huge cast.
Yeah.
What else new? I don't think there's anything else new that we tried. There's a couple gonna give Run a chance with Domhnall Gleeson.
Right. Killing Eve came back. Did you?
I never saw season 1. I think that's Catherine's show.
Okay.
It's with Sandra Oh, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's the same person, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She produces that show and she produced Run as well. So it's kind of like she's building her own little bridge verse, so to speak. So yeah, pretty cool stuff there. Are you excited this week as a Chicago Bulls fan for this general manager coming over from Denver and then JJ Polk coming over from the Pelicans? What's your feeling here?
New blood was needed. That's all. They've been for a long time. And then the stories, just like any, so if you know nothing of sports out there listening, ever a marquee player or someone like this, so it's the front office of my beloved Chicago Bulls, and they've been there for a long, long time. As soon as anyone like that leaves, then the reporters start putting out the stories that they had to sit on, sour their relationship. So now all the crap of Gar Forman was hated by all agents and pretty much every star player. That's why they thought that he was kind of shady and shit like that, which we'd always known. But at the same time, to have it officially no big agent will have his client come talk to you.
Right.
That's brutal. So yeah, I have no idea if they're going to be good. Their pedigree looks nice.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're good guys, and who knows who the fuck.
Yeah, I'd be excited by it because they are, the like you said, the pedigree is good. What they were doing in Denver, pretty good. It comes out of the Daryl Morey kind of general manager tree as well. So the guy has a lot of knowledge about how to do this, and Polk is a great cap specialist. So you might be looking at some better contracts for your players all around that doesn't hamstrung the franchise going on down the road. So we'll see. But pretty incredible stuff to get those guys in there. And Chicago's where you want to go if you want to hang on to a job for way longer than you actually should, because they show a lot of loyalty and they're keeping Paxson.
But hopefully in a much more reduced role. They're keeping him for now. If they're really going to anoint the GM, he'll need to put in his own coach and potentially just put in his own front office as well. So we'll see how it goes, because it's all kind of, they're used to one way and a new person's coming in. So how much on eggshells do they have to be? And before they can actually flex, or are they given that green light from day one? So
yeah.
But right now everything's in turmoil. So who the hell knows
I know.
if and when the season's coming back, let alone what.
I think it's funny that Goodell's going to keep switching gears to Goodell, like the idea that he's going to do the draft picks from his basement in his house in New York. I think that's funny as hell. I still think people should show up and do appropriate social distancing and stand 6 feet from each other and still boo him from behind a fence or whatever, just to keep the feeling that the draft is still happening. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Zoom in everybody that gets picked.
Yeah, right.
So then they already know who these people are because they have to call them to immediately switch over to keep it engaging. Otherwise, we're waiting for somebody to click a link and then follow, eventually coming on. So we're going to wait 20 seconds, 30 seconds for every draft pick.
Yeah.
To happen.
Isn't it almost worse that isn't it almost worse if you're on the Zoom call and you're just hanging out, you're that guy that they're not picking and you're just sitting there for 20 draft rounds or 20 draft picks and you're on the Zoom. Like, what do you do at that point? It's almost worse than sitting in the room, I think, or having the camera on you in your house.
Do you wear a suit? If you're and you're sitting at home, do you wear a suit? Kinda, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're at home, but kinda.
Yeah. You're seeing all these ESPN personalities hosting their shows. Some of them are wearing their suits. I saw some of these CNN broadcasters. The WWE, they had for WrestleMania, they had people hosting the pre-show in like nice dresses and suits and ties. And I was like, oh, come on. Come on, for God's sake. Everybody knows what's happening.
I saw a video of some journalist. I don't know if they were sports or whatever else, but I want to say it was a Spanish reporter. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so does his thing and then stops talking and picks up his phone because he thought that they cut out on him.
Right.
He lifts up his knee and he's holding on to his knee. You can tell he's wearing shorts, but he's got the suit on. Nobody had any clue, so now he's just showing the viewers. I'm chilling at home kind of thing. And I guess he got a text while he was on his phone like, hey, you're still on. Right back to professionalism.
And that's the deal. It's been cool. I mean, on my end, we've just been doing the walks, not much more. I mean, like you just discovering shows, watching stuff, watching movies. I just went through Amazon Prime and made a list of a bunch of movies that I haven't watched yet from the past or from recent memory that I've been wanting to get to. So I'm going to start trying to burn through those a little more quickly. Might even shoot some reviews just to kind of work that muscle out a little bit more for the channel, but just to do something, and I've got all the content I got coming up on Outlaw Nation channel, but I need also to keep sharp on those other things. So hopefully that will be a way to kind of keep me busy as well with everything that's going on. So, we'll see. But anyway, today we're here to talk about movies. We're to count down another top 10 list here on the Top 10 Show. Thank you all so much for downloading the show, whether you're downloading it on YouTube to watch our pretty faces live, or watch our faces on video, or if you're downloading us on the podcast channel to listen to us. And thank you to all the patrons who've been really, during this tough times, still supporting the show, still giving love to the show. Can't thank you all enough for doing that. And of course, Matt and I are so excited to create new content for the patrons who stayed with us, and hopefully lure more patrons to keep this show going. But because if there's one thing you need when all this stuff is happening, is entertainment, laughs, little fun ball busting, and some debate over where movies should be placed on a list. So it's fun distractions from whatever everything else is going on in your world. So we can't thank you enough for joining us today. Matt, anything you want to say to that, or do you want to jump into topics? How did this all come about?
Well, you brought up the Patreon, so recording schedules kind of got skewed today, so you should hear a read list. You should have heard it 2 days ago, but worst case is you heard it yesterday. So we apologize for the delay. Just we had a specific time we needed to record because we had to end by a specific time, and we got pushed in. So we will get it out to you. We will still work hard to get you, all the content we promised.
Absolutely.
But so if there's a slight delay, there's your reason. So I'm ready to jump in. We chose this topic. You sent it over.
Yeah.
How about this? We're like, sure.
Yeah, I was fishing through something, and I was thinking to myself, oh, what about movies based on plays? I don't know where it was from or how I stumbled upon it, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And I was like, oh, well, we haven't even tackled something like that. That could be fun. Are there enough? And when I started diving deep into all these possibilities, I was blown away by how many movies I didn't know were based on plays, and then how many movies were based on plays that you had to kind of limit, or the Shakespeare stuff. All that stuff was in play overall. And then Nose texted me before we a little bit before we were going to record and said, "Hey, do musicals count?" And I thought we shouldn't count those musicals because that could be a whole separate top 10 down the road. Certainly with In the Heights coming, West Side Story coming, we could say top 10 films based on stage musicals and things of that nature. So I wanted to kind of save that one for later. So we're doing today top 10 films based on a stage play. So I'm excited.
We actually had a former guest pitch musicals as a topic.
Oh yeah.
I had flat out told you, I was like, I can't even do that list.
Right.
Can't even do that list. So by the time those get around, I'll get off my ass and watch a few more of the certified classics.
Right.
Fill out the empty gaps on my list. We'll see. Even the best ones, I'm not the biggest fan of.
Right. So, it might just be a genre that doesn't appeal to you, man. It could just be that.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate it, especially when they have, like Singing in the Rain or something, the choreography on top of everything else.
Right.
Impressive to watch. I'm just not engaged, I guess.
Yeah.
People break out into song to express the emotion of the scene or the sentiment of this transitional moment, et cetera, et cetera. I fully understand, because when it works 100%, but it's a much occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely. What was this like? What was it like for you compiling this list, man? Did you anticipate there'd be a lot of choices, or were you surprised by some of these as well?
I mean, I knew what was going to be in the mix by and large. There's a whole bunch that I haven't seen in so long.
Yeah.
It's one that I haven't gotten to. Like, there's one that's probably going to make your list that I haven't seen when I was making the list. I was like, oh yeah, there's that one. Which happens. You can't think of every movie every time you want to watch a movie. So
true. Very, very true.
Yeah, some of these fall through the cracks. So hopefully between our two lists, we have a nice wide array of a ton of different movies, which should be pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm looking forward to that as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes up on your list, and I was surprised by what came up on my list. And cutting some of these movies were really tough. Jockeying for position with a lot of these movies was really tough for me, because I did find some that I had a hard time cutting off the list, but had to go back and well, how many times do I rewatch it? It wasn't that enjoyable. Is it a film that I always go back to? And then does the quality match up the fact that I go back to it multiple times? So there was a lot of inner dialogue I was having about the placement of some of these movies on the list, and which ones didn't make the list, more importantly, for sure.
Sorry, Catherine just texted me.
Oh, everything all right?
Yeah, totally fine. She's just going to come home right when we're recording, so I wanted to give her a heads up to just try and be quiet when she walks in, because I'm near the front door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
And that's the kind of behind the scenes that you get on a quarantine show. Like, go back and listen to the classics. I can't remember which one it was. We got a delivery once at my old house.
That was great.
All-time classic. So this stuff does happen when you're outside of an office.
Very true. Very true.
Studio, rather.
No
All right,
way.
so you ready to jump right in?
Yeah, let's jump into it. You want to tell me how the show works, brother?
Once we set a topic, we go our individual ways and create personal top 10 lists. Show back up here. I do my bottom three. He does his bottom three. I do my next two. He does his next two. Then we trade one apiece. Once we have revealed our personal top 10 list, we create the shows between the two of us.
Boom. Okay. Let's get in. What do you got number 10, man?
A billion choices.
Okay. Yes. Thoroughly.
So a lot of this was, you know what? I'm going to go scattershot and try and pull in. Hopefully we can talk about some movies that we've never talked about.
Yeah.
Or they've come up because we're referencing something else. So 10 for me is A Bronx Tale.
Great choice, man. Yeah.
It was Chaz Palminteri one-man play?
Yep. One-man play.
Yeah, that's what I heard before, because I knew him, from Godfather 3 and other stuff before all this. I don't think he had the juice to get it produced before then. Mm-hmm. But it's De Niro and the young kid. Didn't he go off Indian jail now?
Well, no, not anymore. He got out of jail a couple of years ago. I remember because he came to Collider, did an interview with Christian way back when. So he is putting his life back together, and he wrote a biography about the experience, or not a biography, but a memoir about the experience. And things of that nature. Really nice guy. I met him afterwards because I was such a fan of Bronx Tale, and of course his run on Sopranos when he was playing that idiot who steals, who robs him at the card game. But I just wanted to say hi to him because I wanted to send him some support. Really nice guy. So yeah, this is a great film, time capsule of a film. De Niro directing, which he rarely does. Palminteri, being kind of a guy no one knew much about, like you said, Matt, kind of taking center stage a little bit in this film. And then you have an interracial relationship. It's a timepiece. There's so much about the film that is enjoyable to revisit when you get a chance to do so.
What's funny about that movie is the little sentiment that is it De Niro that gives the young kid, or Palminteri, the way you can tell if this is a girl you want to keep?
Oh, it's Chaz. It's not.
That's what I thought. It's Chaz. It's one of the few times where you can see the good side of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Open the door for her and she gets in the car. As you're walking around the back side of it, you can look through the window and see whether or not she reaches over to unlock your door for you, just to help you.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that ever since then, when it does and when it doesn't. It does mean something. Especially if they know your hands are full or whatever, you're coming around. It's just a nice little gesture. It saves you one motion.
Yeah.
But it's with so many options, so many choices out there. We've never talked about A Bronx Tale. It's a nice small little movie about the mafia, but not really. It's about, a father's son and the son's, growth and maturation into adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what separates it. Like you said, Matt, it's not necessarily a mafia film because we don't get into the nitty gritty of what he does necessarily. We don't find get to know the villains of the piece on the other side as strongly as you would in a regular mafia film. This is a coming of age story about a kid with his friends and what he experiences and the life lessons that he's taught by someone who you wouldn't necessarily want to see as a mentor for a man, but he does actually dole out some interesting life lessons, about self-esteem, self-worth, about whatever. And, but also troubling in the fact that he said it's better to rule with people who fear you than people who love you. So, and that's, and De Niro countering that with, which is a rare thing for him to play, a guy who is not the mafia guy, trying to impose his will on a situation. He's more trying to raise his kid and save him from becoming what you would say is a town thug or a town gangster, and want something more for his kid and the battles that go along from there. Yeah.
Quality movie. So if those listening or watching have never seen it, do yourself a favor. I don't recall it being that long. My guess is $140.
Yeah. So right around there. Yeah, I would say so.
So it's got a nice story to it. It's very well acted. It's a good period piece, but it doesn't, it stays as a small story. And I appreciate that.
And there are some strong emotional moments as well. So it's not just a, coming of age. There's some strong moments that you will experience if you watch the film and enjoy the characters. All right. What you got number 9, man?
9 was a last second addition, which is Roxanne with Steve Martin.
Oh, the Cyrano de Bergerac. Yeah, nice.
My mom loved that movie as a kid, and I already like Steve Martin, so I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. And I've seen it several times over the years. I mean, I saw it a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I watched it probably 3 years ago because I wanted to see the insult scene in the bar.
Right, about his nose.
All the different ways that he can, basically, this guy's insult was so pathetic. It's that's the best you can do.
Right.
Throws a dart, and then whatever number it is, it's a high number. And he's got to come up with that many insults, in the whole bar, in very 80s fashion, gets into it. It's 150 people, and they're all hey! And then he's got another insult. But it works. It works really well. And I saw that scene, and it made me just the charm of it and everything, and Steve Martin being so excellent that I just went to the beginning of the movie and started from there and watched it instead the whole way through. It's a story about love, a story about do looks matter, or is it the mind behind that?
Right.
And Steve Martin is fawning over Daryl Hannah, and
Daryl Hannah,
the dude she likes is a fireman. He was in Top Gun.
Yeah, Rick Rostovich. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Also, what's interesting about the film, though, is it does take the basic outline of the de Bergerac story or play and kind of plays within it and makes it more modern and makes it relatable to what's going on in the world that they're creating in the movie, and that Americana of the small town bar, which probably never existed, but the small town, the Americana of everyone getting involved in it, things of that nature. And then when he embarrasses Kevin Nealon out there when they're kind of essentially fencing with the tennis rackets, things of that nature. So it's funny, but also very sweet. It's one of these kind of Steve Martin films that make you remember what he could do when he was at his
Yeah.
height or at his prime as a star in Hollywood at that time, a comedic star in Hollywood at that time. Absolutely.
It's what I wished LA Story was more like.
Yeah. Yeah. LA Story is a bit uneven. I
Depressing.
agree. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it's not one I want to revisit because it's depressing. Whereas eventually, Steve Martin triumphs in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a nicer, because it's hard to go through, especially the first time. It's not the end of the world or whatnot.
Right.
But yeah, LA Story. I like that movie so much. It's like that and Parenthood. I don't like Parenthood.
Oh yeah, it's too depressing.
It's depressing. I saw it as a kid. I found it depressing then. I watched it a couple times as an adult.
Yeah.
Still just as depressing. I watched it in my 20s and I watched it again in my 30s.
Well, it's funny because I think Roxanne is 88, and then Parenthood's 89. Huh?
Yeah. I was going to say it came out right around that time.
Yeah, and then Parenthood comes out in 89, and then you get LA Story. I think it's 90 or 91 or even 92.
92 was with the number in my head, but I don't.
Right. And then you get Mixed Nuts come. So to me, Roxanne's maybe the last breath of joy that you see from him until you get to maybe that works until you get to maybe Bowfinger is maybe the next thing that's funnier.
But that's like a cult classic. That took a long time for people to come around on.
Yeah, agreed.
Now it's the least watch of probably both their canons.
Yeah, yeah. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is A Raisin in the Sun.
Ooh, okay, cool. Nice choice, man.
Yeah, just solid movie about poor people on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier plays the son, and there's a mom and a sister, and I can't remember. I think those were the main 3 pivotal characters.
Mm-hmm.
But they come into some money, and then it's a matter of what do they choose to do with that? How do they climb on all their struggles with the society and the socioeconomic state that they're in, and the family dynamic amongst it all? Poitier is great.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is like, I don't know, and this is like right at the beginning or near the beginning of his career. I think Patch of Blue is around the time. Lilies of the Field they win the Oscars for is around this time. This is before he becomes like fully Poitier, right? And so this is him like kind of you're seeing the shades of what's going to come from him down the road when he becomes a lead. Yeah, it's a tough story to watch, a tough story to tell for sure. But it's an enjoyable movie. I think it's black and white still, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, great choice, man. Have you ever seen it on stage?
No.
Yeah. It's rarely done now.
The last one I could think of wasn't Diddy the lead. It was on Broadway or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh,
that's the last time I heard it. Yeah. Because I think they did a movie shortly after its run on that.
Yeah.
I never saw that. It's kind of hard for me to match.
Right.
You can see like Poitier. It's kind of like why when Will Smith did 6 Degrees and they were doing young Poitier kind of parallel with him. You can see the magnetism and the charisma. He just commands so well at a young age.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Okay. So then my number 10 is Frost Nixon.
Oh, that's a punt.
Okay. All right.
10.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, then my number 9 is the original source material for Matt's number 9, which is the Cyrano de Bergerac movie, the French movie with Gerard Depardieu, which I still go back and watch and enjoy the living hell out of. It's a fantastic interpretation of the story. Fernando Rey, I think, did one in the 50s that some people enjoyed. I think he won the Best Actor Oscar for his portrayal of Cyrano way back when, or Aldo Rey, one of those guys, he did it. But like this is such a vibrant, fun interpretation of the story, but doesn't lose the stakes because, of course, he has to go off to war, and so does the protege or his friend who is in love with Christian, I think his name is, who's in love with the woman and Catherine. I said Catherine. I think it's Catherine, and all of that. And then it goes on to later on to where he's older and going to visit Catherine, and she's been mourning the death of Christian for so long until eventually, there's a realization of who was actually writing those letters. It's such a well-directed French film, and it's fun and enjoyable because most of the French films are like, contemplative and really kind of figuring out the world and all that jazz. So this is so much more enjoyable and great performances from Depardieu and everybody involved in it. And I just love it from beginning to end, man. Just a great, bright, vibrant film. And if you haven't seen the French version of it, you haven't seen this version of the story, you got to get on this thing. It's so good.
This was the start of the wave of Gerard Depardieu is going to be a star in Hollywood.
Right.
I saw this as well. I just had more of a fondness for the Roxanne one because I've just seen it so many more times. But
yeah, totally understood.
Yeah, it's interesting you see that, and then Depardieu never really had the run here that it looked like he was kind of set up to do.
Yeah, Green Card was, you could argue Green Card is maybe the top
high watermark.
Right? The high watermark, yeah, because I mean he does the Three Musketeers. Oh no, Man in the Iron Mask.
Okay.
He does whatever, he does that thing with Katherine Heigl where he plays her father. You know, he does a couple other things, but it never quite bounces off the way you were hoping it would. So that's the unfortunate truth about Depardieu. And to be honest with you, the guy is like full on do his own thing. So, you know, maybe some studios didn't want to work with him because he was pretty much like, I'm going to show up this time and I'm going to do this and then I'm leaving, you know, that kind of thing. So who knows? All right. Then my number 8 is A Streetcar Named Desire. Is that on your list or?
It's a slight punt.
Okay. Slight punt. Well, go ahead, my man. You're number 7.
My 7 is Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, nice choice. The Brano one. Okay.
Yeah. Up until that point, I think I'd only seen Romeo and Juliet, the 70s version, and then maybe Gibson's Hamlet.
Okay. Yeah.
But so it's not like Shakespeare leapt off the screen to me. It's kind of weightier stuff for a younger kid. You really shouldn't be trying to access, especially Hamlet. Romeo and Juliet, I was the right age, you know, whatever else. It never really had the fascination for me, but I understand why it is what it is. And then So Much Ado About Nothing, it was on cable just randomly, and I happened to start at the beginning, and I loved every second. I mean, Keanu Reeves is doing Shakespeare.
Yeah, right.
But Michael Keaton steals every tiny little scene that he is in. He is awesome. And, you know, so is Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
That was great. And it's just a solid cast from top to bottom. And it really brings to life the spark of wit. And you can see the great comedic timing and understanding of Shakespeare, who you believe wrote these plays. And anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it too. I mean, it's the Beatrix Benedict storyline is such a difficult one to get right, you know, because it could slide into caricature, it could slide into a bit more meanness to it than if it's not played correctly. And I think Branagh and Emma Thompson do a fantastic job doing that with their characters within that film. Of course, Branagh directed it as well. You also have Robert Sean Leonard doing a nice job, a very young Kate Beckinsale. You get the funny Dogberry scene with Michael Keaton. So there's so much about the film that's enjoyable. For me, though, it gets a little too, what's the term I want to use? A little too out there for me when they're singing the song and all that jazz at the beginning, at the end. For me, it just kind of takes it away a little bit, which is why it's not one of my favorite, but it certainly is one of the best Branagh films that he's ever done. So, but it's not always my favorite Shakespeare interpretation of it all. But within itself, within what's going on in the scenes between Branagh and Thompson, that's the joy of the film for me, to be honest with you. All of that is so much fun. And seeing Brian Blessed, that large man ape in the movie, is always great to see, man. I like him a lot.
All right, so that was my 7. My 6 is the punt from earlier, Streetcar.
Okay, cool.
So not far off. What was that, 7 or 8?
Yes, 8 for me. Yeah.
Young Brando.
Yeah.
Brando before this movie. And then after this, he just goes on a run of like consecutive Best Actor nods. Out of nowhere, he just was the star.
Yeah.
Tennessee Williams play set in New Orleans, and it's about a sister with dementia that we find out later comes to live with her sister and husband and just the turmoil that creates and the conflict between all the different personalities.
Yeah, I mean, a great film from Elia Kazan, the director. You have Carl Malden in this thing. Brando at his primal introduction into people. I mean, my girlfriend still talks about how much she loves that his portrayal in that movie and how sexy he is in that movie. Many people still will go back and see how this is what begins the fascination with Brando. This primal, attractive guy in the prime of his life, who is, at any moment can do anything, and seeing him like change and adjust his tactics. And obviously he's a terribly abusive husband, and what have you. And he does end up raping Vivian Lee's character, Blanche Dubois. So there's that's mixed into this whole thing as well. And of course, very famous for Stella. But within the film itself, there's some great scenes of acting between all the actors involved. They're all method guys. They'd all worked together in New York and things of that nature. So
it was Brando had done the play.
Yeah, Brando had done the play.
He was the lead on Broadway and then segued straight into the movie.
Yeah. The only person they didn't cast from Broadway into the film, I think, was the Vivian Leigh part. I think it was supposed to be either Jessica Tandy or Joanne Woodward had done it on Broadway, and then they wanted a film star, and so they got Vivian Leigh to play that part in the film. But just great stuff. Combustible film. When people tell me they don't like black and white films, they don't go back and see black and white films, I go, you're all insane. You got no idea what you're talking about. There are some great, powerful films in black and white.
Yeah, there's movies. I think On the Waterfront succeeds even more for me.
Hell yeah.
And like 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
It's better that it's in black and white. Because they're dealing with a black and white issue in some regard.
Right.
Fonda just keeps introducing the gray.
Yeah.
The limitation of the time really helps succeed and illustrating the problem. That's like the black and whites into early colors. Are when people have to struggle to go back to remember something, and I'm one of those. Like I try and be on top of everything, but there's a good chance we're going to get to one that you've seen and I haven't, just because it's one of how many from that era. I've seen a lot, but how many from that era that I may have missed.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Now every year, I don't see every Oscar movie. I try, but you miss some. It just inevitable. Next year starts and you're like, oh, I still need to see X.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, sometimes you're like, that movie doesn't look that interesting to me. I don't want to make time for it. And that's the honest truth of it, because you've seen so many movies. For people who are young in their 20s, you will eventually get to that point where you go a little bit older and you're just like, you know what? I just don't want to see that film. And maybe you won't see all the Oscar nominated films because they didn't really interest you that much, or a couple of them didn't interest you that much. Then maybe eventually you'll come back and watch them, but they don't grab you. So you don't go see them. And that's kind of how it goes sometimes. I think for the last few years, there's been at least one that I haven't seen that's been up for a Best Picture every year. So yeah.
My favorite is when a preponderance of people have seen it and you haven't. And it's just
right.
Yeah, eventually I get, but you haven't seen. You're like, have you seen all these? No, shut up. Like I have watched so much in regards to film. Just shut your pie hole. Occasionally they are right.
Yeah.
It has happened to me where everybody's like, and eventually you do watch it and you're like, that was awesome. It just slipped through the cracks. I had no issue with the film. It came and went out. I heard it was good and then forgot because I got busy watching other stuff.
Yeah.
Around.
I'd rather people watch movies when they're in the mood to watch them, because then you're more turned on to savor the movie than if you're being forced to watch it or you're being told to watch it. I think there's more to get from when you're in the mood for it. Then you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, this is working for me so well. That kind of stuff.
I'm doing that for the way back. Like I'm very close to being primed to see that movie because all I've heard is, look, here's what it is. Here's what it's like, just the bare bones, because I never like to know anything.
Right.
Enough people have said it's a very successful version of that. So just kind of like, oh, awesome. Now I get to look forward to, this type of movie. Not that I need to be in a specific mood for it, but past like 3-4 days, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, when am I going to watch? Like, I've been holding back just something to look forward to, I guess. I don't know. We're going to be here for a while. Garcetti's 31st at least, although Trump is now saying, states issue, you come back up whenever you want to. And you're like, I realize what you're doing is shifting blame and now putting on the governors because you don't want to take the flack. And you
of course
successful in the press conferences this week. I get it. But green light all around to any idiot is not a good idea.
No, especially because people like that governor in North Dakota or South Dakota, wherever she's at, like has still not put a mandatory stay-at-home order, and they had a crap ton of cases come out of that meat plant. Like if you had made people stay home, then they would have run on the bare bones staff. Maybe not as many people would have been infected. And the thing that sucks about this kind of situation too, Matt, is it's one of those things where people will just get caught up with the numbers and not really want to blame anybody and look at these things that every single life is a murder, in my opinion. If you did things that weren't supposed to be, or you purposefully did things that were politically expedient for you or politically convenient for you instead of doing the things that were hard to keep Americans safe, then to me, that's tantamount to murder. You have an accessory, at least in my opinion. And so seeing all this shifting, seeing all this like trying to protect and PR instead of like owning up to it is just super frustrating because so many people are dying, man. So many people are dying that didn't have to die, or adjusting the numbers saying, oh, they said 2 million, but only 600,000. We're doing well. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So anyway, just my little rant.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get the murder charge to stick. You might want to try manslaughter.
That's the problem. Well, manslaughter, I guess. Yeah.
Well, just the motive you have to prove, and you specifically more than likely have to prove that the motive was to take out the individual specifically.
Yeah. Oh, right. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that being said, they have never, I mean, pie in the sky, man. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's weird, it's easy to sit back when we don't know all the stuff. Like, how far out are the testing kits, the tests?
Yeah. He won't say.
Test is coming. How quick is that test going to be? Because I think that's the biggest key, especially for all the different sports leagues, is any live entertainment venue or anywhere where tons of people congregate. If we had tests, then we can limit and we can better diagnose as we're going through and know when to quarantine individuals, et cetera, and catch this before the next wave starts. So that's my biggest concern right now. It's like, we need to get these tests, guys. Let's work on this test.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. Absolutely. Good. The more tests we get, the more people get found out, the more people get cured. Yeah.
I don't know. The 2 weeks out when states are going to open up, I really hope we have tests by then, because it's going to be disastrous. And
yeah, I mean, already Newsom said he doesn't want any sports. He sees the future where the sports don't come back until 2021 in LA, and that's a strong statement.
I thought that was Garcetti. That was Newsom.
Or was it? I thought it was Newsom. Maybe it was. Either way, it's a person in power in a particular city, so we could make that a reality, And so we'll see. I mean, we'll see.
If a city this large does it, and then there'll be pressure on other cities of the same size if they. Flirting with the idea, and it'll have a cascading effect.
I don't know how in New York you can rush this. There's so many deaths in New York. This makes no sense. You got to wait for a while. But anyway, we are not scientific experts, so just our personal opinion from what we've seen or read, and we're here to talk about movies. Where are we at, man?
That was my 6. You're 7.
Okay, my 7 is Glengarry Glen Ross.
That's another punt.
All right.
Although I have a good understanding of what more than likely is going to be the top of yours. But anyway, what you got next?
My 6 is Children of a Lesser God.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, this is a film that I thoroughly, absolutely love. And I don't know if I've ever gotten a chance to talk about it on Top 10, maybe once. But this is a film that is quietly one of my favorite 80s films ever made, based on a stage play. William Hurt and Marlee Matlin. Marlee Matlin is deaf. She was cast in this film. It was her first feature film lead role, and she ended up winning an Oscar for Best Actress for this part. And this film is a brutal film emotionally, because this is a guy who teaches deaf kids, goes to this college, and I think it's in New England somewhere, falls in love with Marlee Matlin, who is like the janitor of the place, because she is deaf, and this is a job that she can hold. And you find out that there have been issues in the past with her, and you find out about her history, and that the guys, the hearing kids would take advantage of her sexually when she was younger. And so these are the reasons why she's so reserved and kind of keeps to herself. And it's fascinating to watch. And then you have Piper Laurie playing her mom. And so William Hurt goes on this journey, and she goes on this journey of understanding and discovering, because he is so pugnacious about what he thinks she should do, that it becomes almost father to daughter. And then you kind of discover that in the relationship, what that all means. I don't want to ruin too much of it, but it's such a brilliantly well-directed film. It feels like The Fall through the whole movie. And there are some nice, interesting moments in the film that are kind of like dreamlike, that I think really work overall. And it's a film that doesn't take the easy way out, and doesn't cop out, and doesn't look for the happy ending. It looks for the actual ending or the honest ending. And so it's one that I wish got more love from people when they talk about the greatest 80s films. But it's quietly one of mine. So I will put it on this list really high out of respect and love for the film.
Nice. I saw it so long ago. Like as you were describing it, it was oh yeah. So it's been, I don't have an opinion because I need to watch it again type of thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. If anyone hasn't watched it, I can't recommend it any higher than I do. And William Hurt and Marlee Matlin actually got together. I think they got married or they got together out of this film. And then when she won the Oscar, it apparently caused problems between them because he was jealous that she won it on her first try, and he'd been trying for years to win one. So it's ego, male ego. What can you do?
It's the nature of the game, though.
Yeah, true. All right, well, we'll jump into our number fives, Matt. But first, we should probably hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get into it right after this break. All right, and we're back here to count down the rest of our list for the top 10 plays. Top 10 movies based on plays. I think we're up to you, Matt. You're number 5.
My 5 is The Odd Couple.
Oh, they didn't make my list. I don't love it as much as other people do. So please go ahead.
Well, it's purely the dynamic for Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, and something that there is no. It's a perfect team up. They just bounce off of each other so well, and especially with one is tidy, the other's a slob. One is uptight, the other is relaxed. One is on top of their responsibilities, the other's behind on his alimony payments. So they both have their pluses and minuses, and it's this kind of, I don't want to say cat and mouse, but back and forth between the two of them throughout. Because Jack Lemmon's character, he get kicked out of his house by his wife because she wants a divorce, so he goes to Mathau's and ends up staying there.
Yeah.
Just the friction between the two of them, it still works even today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, especially once Mathau just becomes disgusted. It's like, I can't take this kind of thing anymore.
Right.
Out down there, and just the fastidious nature of Jack Lemmon. But the dynamic works so well between the two of them. That's why you have decades upon decades later, you can still do a Grumpy Old Men and then get a sequel out of that, Grumpier Old Men.
Yeah. Agreed.
They have such tremendous chemistry. It's fun to watch. I wish we had, I struggle to think of two actors that are equivalent to those two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're both excellent serious actors, but they can pull off the comedy, but they have this cinematic relationship where everybody just agrees, man, I like these two.
Yeah.
No, that's James Garner. I was about to say My Fellow Americans, but James Garner instead of Al.
Well, maybe you could, if you want, if you were going to remake the movie,
I would go Gosling and Crowe, see if they can replicate.
Yeah. I still think Carey and Daniels. They could be an easy fit into this situation. If you like, Daniels is Daniels could play either part, to be honest with you. He could be the sports writer. I think that actually works better. He's the schlubby sports writer, and Jim Carrey is the annoying, neat guy, retentive neat guy. That could totally work in how they do things. Carrey could do with that annoying thing of clearing his nose or whatever that Jack Lemmon does in the movie, but that could totally work. I think that's the closest comparison in my mind to guys who could do comedy and drama stuff effectively overall. But yeah, enough that it sparked a TV show that's what I grew up with. Tony Randall and Jack Klugman. I enjoy the hell out of that TV show all the time. Very funny stuff. And you got the stage play. They still do the stage play to this day, because it's some funny stuff from Neil Simon in that play, and great stuff from Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon too. Yeah.
So that is my 5. What do you got?
Okay. My number 5, let me bring it up here real quick, is the Akira Kurosawa film Throne of Blood, which is based on Shakespeare's King Lear. Not King Lear. I'm sorry, Macbeth. Shakespeare's Macbeth. And so it was between this and Ron, and I just enjoyed Throne of Blood a little bit more than Ron, because Ron is the King Lear adaptation. I only wanted to throw one Kurosawa one up here if I was going to. Okay. And I think this is the one for me. I just really love Mifune in this role. It's one of the right. I think it's the apex of him as a lead for Kurosawa does a couple more and then starts to, and then like kind of like disappears, and then Nakadai takes his place. But this is fantastic stuff here. Very moody film. Totally works in feudal Japan. You know, he's a warrior who ends up like betraying his lord and then taking over things. And you have the Lady Macbeth thing, totally works. The way they make the wood move in Dunsinore, in essence, in the film is really magically done. And the witches, the way they do Japanese kabuki type thing, they're like all white and in the robes and spinning the thread or whatever, the needle. Doing the spinning wheel or whatever, and all of it just kind of works so well overall. It's a fantastic film. And when he's getting, near the end, when all these arrows are coming at him, those are actual archers that are shooting arrows into the walls around him, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's the thing. We were doing research on it for one of the shows for Cinephiles, and we found out that's when we were doing our month of Kurosawa, that was one of the things that Kurosawa had told Mifune. It was one of the reasons Mifune also kind of eventually broke away from this thing, because he was like, "You're too willing to put my life at danger for your piece,
for your art."
Yeah, for your art. So it's just a little too crazy for me. But if you haven't seen this and you're a Shakespeare fan, please watch it. And even if you're not, it's still a fantastic film.
Good choice. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Just like you, like I was going through the list and all of a sudden I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought it just randomly out of the blue. But it was when I saw it on a list, I was like, oh, that's right. So yeah. What's your 4?
My 4 is Dial M for Murder.
Oh, nice choice, man. I saw that as I was going through the list, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting choice. That's a good film, man.
It is. It was based on a play from a few years before, and then Hitchcock turns around and makes this taut little thriller about a husband and wife, and the wife is cheating on him, and he decides that he's going to take her out, because this is all very early on, so I'm not really spoiling anything. The rest is how that opening paragraph unfolds, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a retiring tennis pro. He's used to a certain life, but he doesn't want her around. I've actually known a couple tennis pros. They're interesting people.
I'm sure.
It's a different lifestyle, that's for sure.
I had a cousin who was a tennis instructor. It's very strange, a very strange life, and very strange cat, and just kind of, that's what you do, is teach people tennis, and and you can make a living doing that, and it's
very good living.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very weird, like kind of subset of people who do that, and the things they go through or experience, and the mania of people who come to learn from them, and the unrealistic expectations they might have, or just they're just doing it to get out of the house. And then you're like, well, how much do I really want to teach this person? Because I'm having to reteach them every single session. There's that kind of element to it as well. So yeah, overall, an interesting subset of people who exist in the world. And it would be fun actually to see a TV show kind of based on tennis pros and what they go through. It'd be kind of interesting.
I imagine that industry is dying, because
sure,
tennis as a whole has already hit its apex.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the singular stars in tennis that we had when I was a kid, and even before I was born.
Yeah.
That these individuals, they could just dominate. Now they still have some, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near, I don't think, because I remember every year we used to watch Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and sometimes the French Open.
Oh yeah.
But like, I want to say Wimbledon came on around Easter time. So there's a few Easters I remember put it on and just thoroughly watch. I used to watch golf on the big, like the huge tournaments.
Oh yeah.
Every once and again, but tennis for sure. I could get all the best players from the 80s through like early to mid 90s, because I watched so much stinking tennis. So I imagine that as that has waned overall, maybe there's fewer people wanting to get tennis lessons.
Yeah, I mean, look, once you go past Federer and Nadal, the Williams sisters, Djokovic, there's not really. Djokovic. I mean, Djokovic. Sharapova just retired. There's not really that many left of name, dude. After this, it's going to be a bunch of people that are certainly great at what they do, but not really well known.
There's what is his name? Andy something or other from Great Britain.
Right.
He Murray, but I think he's now retiring.
Right, he is. Yeah.
There's a young female here stateside, but I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to be like the next badass in women's tennis. Like one of the ones where she'll be an apex predator along with whoever else rises in the ranks.
Yeah. We don't have the personalities anymore, though, man. I mean, like you're talking about the heydays, that was like McEnroe and Connors and Boris Becker and, Jim Courier.
Bjorn Borg.
Bjorn Borg, right.
Stefan Lendl. And
Ivan Lendl, yeah.
Or is it Ivan Lendl? I thought it was.
Yeah.
Was there Stefan something else?
Yeah, I think there was a Stefan. Then Bjorn. Bjorn Borg, Ivan Lendl.
Then what's his name? The German Boris.
Yeah, Boris Becker. Yeah,
Boris Becker.
Michael Chang.
David Chang. Catherine's coach in high school. She played tennis and she was apparently pretty good at it.
Oh wow.
He was Chang's coach.
Oh wow. Right on. Yeah.
But those people don't exist anymore. Like
no.
Just rattled off 10 names. I can't do that anymore.
From multiple countries that you could enjoy and watch. Stefan Edberg, he was great.
Stefan Edberg, there you go. There's your Stefan.
Stefan Edberg, that was the one you were thinking about. Yeah. And on the women's side, you had Steffi Graf, Monica Seles, you had Pam Shriver, you had Lindsay. What was the 16-year-old? Jennifer Capriati. You had
Chris Everett.
Yeah, Chris Everett, right? Navratilova.
Yeah, Navratilova, just a badass for years.
Exactly. You had all these great people coming through that were fantastic to enjoy and watch, and from different countries, and including America as well. And so it was great to see. And then the Williams sisters came in, and they were kicking ass all over the place. But then now it's like it's the tail end, and I don't really see that many personalities getting the kind of publicity that these personalities did back then. So
never know. Never say die.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true.
But
all right. We're up to that was your number 4.
That was my 4. Dial M for Murder.
All right, then my number 4 is The Birdcage, which is
see, now I looked it up. It's based on a musical.
It is?
Yes.
So La Cage aux Folles is a musical?
The original Inception was a musical.
Oh, okay.
I thought about doing that too, and I was like, all right, let me just make sure. And it was like, it's based on a musical, and I was like,
okay, all right.
The movie doesn't, but I discluded because we said no musicals.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Look, I love that movie, and it's musical number in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, right at the end. There is that. I mean, you could argue that it's that, but I don't really see it that way.
Me either. It's not. It's it helps the plot along, but it doesn't,
Okay.
Not the same thing to me.
All right. Well, then I suppose I can sub out another one, and I don't
care, man. If you want to keep it, I excluded it. It was going to make my list top 5 for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, because in my mind, there's no musical. When you said, do we exclude musicals, I thought you meant the actual finished product. So okay.
I figured one strike was 2 strikes kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and I think that's fair. I want to honor that because that could mean Birdcage could come up if we ever do top 10 musicals. So let me take it out just to honor that situation. Then let me slide in. What do I want to slide in? Let's slide in Doubt. I have Doubt up here as number 11, so I can put that in on the list. We talked about that one already a little bit, and that's a fantastic film with Meryl Streep and
Philip Seymour Hoffman,
right, Amy Adams, Viola Davis. So we certainly enjoyed that film very, very much. So, and you all know about that one, and if you haven't known about that one, go see that one. A very tight, tense, uncomfortable film about someone who's got a lust for power and is upset that someone new has come in to kind of threaten their power, and so is willing to possibly make up allegations about that person so that they can retain their power. Yeah.
Maybe she sends smoke.
Yeah.
Thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Philip Seymour Hoffman isn't the best of characters in that. Ultimately.
Yeah. It can go either way, and that's what's so interesting about the film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a taut little. I mean, it's a. The Catholic Church needs to recognize its sins.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgiveness. So this is part of, hey, man, this type of behavior.
This will not stand.
You need to own up to this. There's a bunch of things. You've been around for long enough. You have so many transgressions.
Yeah.
It's amazing once you stack them all up. But we all hopefully believe that ultimately you want to be benevolent and good.
Yeah.
So but we keep giving you shots, but you guys got a checkered past. That's for
very true. All right, what's your number 3, man?
My three is a punt from you earlier, Frost Nixon.
Oh, wow. That high up. All right. Respect, dude. Yeah.
Dude,
Go ahead and take this one, man.
love it. I want to say it was my favorite picture of that year. If not, it was top two, top three max. I didn't know about the story.
Yeah.
Like going into it and then the build up to it, and I was like, wow, Nixon really sat down for this. And then you find out more of who Sheen's character is.
Right. David Frost. Yeah.
Yeah, this English television presenter that no one really took seriously, and he managed to get a one-on-one with Nixon because Nixon doesn't take him seriously either. He thinks it's just going to be this puff piece.
Yeah.
And he comes in guns ablaze. He's got like a Sam Rockwell and Oliver Platt as the two guys helping him. That's a great scene with Sam Rockwell when he was like, you know what, man, fucking Nixon ever comes in here, man, I'm going to tell him where to shove it. And then Nixon comes in and he's like, hi, how are you, Mr. President? Because there is still the respect that he commands.
Yeah.
Having held the office, there is a magnetism to him, much as you deny it. I would imagine that is true for anybody that gains that amount of power, ultimately. But so it's this tete-a-tete between the two of them. And as Nixon slowly realizes what is actually happening, and Frost trying to give meaning to his life, to prove all people wrong, that he's not just some party boy that does entertainment journalism by and large, like the equivalent to now, some of them more depth and sincerity than that. I loved it, man. I understand why it's lower on your list because it doesn't have the same impact, but every once and again, a movie like that, like the first one that comes to mind is Lincoln. I know you like it and respect it, but just a difference of, you're not saying it's bad. It's just on a different plane for me.
Absolutely. And I totally respect that. And it's a great film, man. I mean, I remember going to see this and wondering if it was going to be any good, because just like you, I have an interest in the political aspect of this, all the historical aspect of it all that being, but plus you've got Ron Howard directing this thing, and you've got a stable of great actors all around. And I thought Langella's Nixon was way more believable and palatable than Hopkins Nixon. Yeah, exactly. Although Hopkins didn't do a bad job. No. It's just Langella's was more, you could actually see Nixon in Langella's portrayal of him, and I think nothing beats that scene where he calls Frost late at night to talk about the hamburger and all this kind of thing, and the way the burger is, all of that. You just kind of get into what the machinations of this whole thing is, because yes, as long as Nixon felt like he was the alpha dog in the situation, then the interactions were fine. It was when the power dynamic started to switch that he found himself floundering again, and had that moment where he completely incriminated himself in that interview. And you're right, Matt, this is something that people don't talk about in a massive way anymore. They talk about Watergate, they'll talk about Nixon, but they don't really throw in this interview that much. When I was growing up, I knew who David Frost was because he was already established. So he was hosting shows in the 70s while I was growing up as a kid and seeing him host shows. So I knew who David Frost was. But like you, I didn't know the story behind his ascension to this position, and that fact that he'd been like essentially a carnival barker for entertainment news stuff, and was not someone that people took seriously. Because when I was growing up, he was someone that you did take seriously. That was what was so fascinating about this, and overall the transition to and Kevin Bacon as well as essentially his handler, his chief of staff is great when they have their interactions, and his high and tight haircut is so perfect to fit what they're trying to do, and his defense of Nixon for people who still defend Nixon is a believable defense for the people who defend Nixon. So it's great that they show both sides of this equation so that you as the viewer can make up your own mind of which side you're on, and it's great.
You can, I thoroughly can understand why someone would still side with, not saying me personally, but to believe that he is the right person to have power, then what he did trying to spy on his opposition doesn't seem like a major transgression to you, because you trust that opposition at all. So you either keep him in power, just like, look, if that's the worst he did, there's way worse out there. Okay, but it's a corruption of the power.
Right.
Ultimately, you have to take someone like that out. But utterly believable, because, politics, religion, a few other things just drive people to such a fervent degree. Select individuals that you can blind yourself to whatever you like,
Oh, yeah.
and maintain your position.
The power of it all is strong, man. Absolutely. All right, that was your number 3. Is that right?
Correct.
All right, so then my number 3 is another Brana film. Not much ado. It's Henry V.
Okay.
I absolutely love this movie. I remember going to see it in DC because it wasn't showing in the main areas of Virginia, so I had to drive into DC to see this movie, and it's a life-changing experience for me. Because I was such a kind of an early adapter to enjoying Shakespeare, but still hiding from people that I didn't understand most of it, but I knew it was something that I instinctively felt drawn to. And so going to see it, driving down, I think it was just outside DC, actually. Shirlington is where I saw it, and sitting in the theater and watching this movie from the opening score, which is played in the dark, to all the way to the end of that interaction and the last chorus of Jared Jacobi. It's just such a gripping film about this story, and it's different from Olivier's Henry V, because Olivier's Henry V is about rousing England into World War II. This is more about exploring this young man's journey from having been, essentially a party person with Falstaff into embracing the reality of being the king of England and what that entails in the work. And it's fascinating. It's just like this idea that just because someone can act a fool when they're younger doesn't mean they can embrace the strength of themselves as they get older and they mature and they can become a different person. And so there's great back and forth with him and the Dauphin, the French, and there's great actors. Brana in this, Brian Blessed's in this as well. Paul Schofield. Oh God, I forget his name, who plays the Dauphin. He is so good in the film as well. So all around, just a film that I Ian Holm, always go back to and watch and enjoy, because I think it pairs down the play in a way that's palatable without removing the brilliance of the play itself or undercutting its genius. And you can follow along, and it's very moving. It's very moving. And Brana's performance, a young Kenneth, still with that baby fat on his face, is just so good in the role. And Emma Thompson is fantastic in it as well. So yeah, it's one that I come back to all the time, dude.
Would you count The King?
What do you mean?
Well, it has the same characters.
Yeah, interesting. No, I don't think, because it's not using the actual play.
Yeah, the play.
Right? Yeah, but the historical elements are
basing
there.
it on, the historical.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe you take some of the dynamic that was created within the play and carry that over. Then did a little bit into The King.
Yeah. Well, and I like The King. The King was damn good, dude.
It is. It's really good. It's, Chalamet is excellent.
Oh, man.
And I can't wait to see Dune.
Dude, those pictures look fantastic.
I told you, baby. Well, my most anticipated this year, and it's about my number 1, because it's like, dude, Denny has not steered us wrong, man. That guy has been so solid. I don't need to see anything. I am geeked for this, and then see the picture. Boom. And I have I didn't read the books. I have no affinity for the movie, the previous version. But I have belief it could be done.
Oh, yeah. And he's splitting it into 2 movies. So this will be interesting as well. If the first movie does well and is well received, then it'll get you excited for the second movie. But if this movie doesn't do well at the box office, because Blade Runner 2049 did not do well in the box office, then you start to wonder what the situation will be in the second film. But that doesn't mean the second film won't still come out and won't still make a crap ton of money, because most of the time it's the second part of the story that's full of action and intrigue and all the jazz, because you've got the groundwork from the first part of the story. So I'm excited too. I love the pictures, and it just got me so in the right vibe. And this is what he was going to do. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't look like fun. People are complaining. It's not supposed to be fun. This is an actually really brutal story about this kid transitioning into this power and understanding his power, but also the evil warlords are involved in all this. So there's so much about this story that's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to explore. It's not supposed to be fun necessarily. So yeah. All right, where are we at?
So that was my number 3. What's yours? Oh, no, you did.
I just did my number 3. Henry V.
Number 2. I apologize. Is another punt. Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh, nice choice, dude. Yeah, Glengarry Glen Ross, bud.
And A, it's already good, but B, it jumps so high because it takes a play and then it adds the Alec Baldwin character and that scene is now what the immediate reference of any individual, and it's carried over to just pop culture.
Yeah,
by and large,
and it's written by Mamet. That speech, it's written by Mamet to fit into the film, so it works so perfectly.
Gorgeous casting, gorgeous acting. It's another movie that's a small story. It's just about this, office, in essence, this sales office, and the dynamic between all the people within it, and who's struggling and who's succeeding, and this kind of, Lion of the Jungle type of aspect, especially like Pacino is just kind of looming over in the corner at all times. Kevin Spacey, back when we could still like Kevin Spacey. Jack Lemmon is utterly fantastic in it.
Yeah, Shelley Levine.
Yeah, it's just so beautifully done. But we've talked about it before. Modern classic, modern being relative in cinematic terms.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, because they're all slimy characters, man, because they're all selling fake bullshit to these unsuspecting people. They're all trying to take advantage of these people and essentially take their money, and try to get as much a commission for themselves as possible, and lying to themselves that they're just trying to make a living, in that way. And so even the coolness of Pacino, he is still a bottom feeder in this way, or a dirty bottom feeder in this way. Or the sympathy for Jack Lemmon, he's still a dirty SOB who's been doing this for how many years. So you see all the different aspects of you. This is the sad sack of Alan Arkin, the alpha dog, the aggressive alpha dog that actually is a whimpering dog in Ed Harris. All of that around, it's just so fun to watch these actors cut their teeth on this Mamet dialogue. And then Baldwin, like you just said, man, Baldwin coming in and just a perfect fit in and then out, just, how much my watch costs? My watch costs more than your car, you son of a bitch. Like all of it, just denigrating them all to try to motivate them.
Fuck you, you're fired.
Right.
Great. It boils down the essence of that character. And I love that he never comes back.
He's
just part of, he's the face, the manifestation of the looming threat that they're all fearing. This is the guillotine blade presented to you before you potentially get your head chopped off.
Right.
It's effective. It's an all-timer. So if you haven't, please go watch it. What do you got it to?
12 Angry Men, which is based on the Reginald Rose play.
Oh, that makes my list. I'll bump something off for that.
Okay. Because you mentioned it earlier, I thought, well, he certainly had considered it, right? And so I thought you had already considered
There's so many choices. I apparently missed it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I knew that it was a play before.
Yeah. Reginald Rose had done the play because I directed the play. So you have to go and get the rights and things of that nature. And so it was a play first. Then they did I think a version of it on Playhouse 90 back in the 50s. And then they actually shot the film, which is Sidney Pollack, his first film ever, I think. But yeah, what a film. What a fantastic film. What a great collection of actors throughout at that time, for that time, Jack Warner, who was the guy in The Verdict, who's Paul Newman's friend in The Verdict. He's in this thing. You get Ed Begley Jr.'s dad. Ed Begley's in this thing. E.G. Marshall, who was, of course, the dad in Christmas Vacation, and a bunch of Jack Klugman, a young Jack Klugman in this as well. Yes. And then you have, of course, Henry Fonda, who is kind of guiding these guys through this path of, what's the real truth here. And, and as you get older, man, you can rewatch this play or rewatch this movie rather and be like, Henry's using a lot of circumstantial evidence. There is logic for actually both sides. And I'd be remiss not to mention Lee J. Cobb, who is fantastic as juror number 3. But you can see the argument on both sides as you get older, because when you're younger, you're like, that's right, he did the right thing, he fought for that kid, and blah blah blah. But when you're listening to the evidence is laying out, there is a possibility the knife could be the same knife, the knife could not be the same knife. It just all depends. And so there's so much about it that he just turns the circumstantial evidence on its head. But it's fascinating to watch it overall as a film.
But ultimately, given the fact that it is circumstantial, if you don't have a definitive answer, then you have to err on the side of caution.
Right. You could. Absolutely.
But talking about, taking someone's life or depriving them by putting behind bars for the rest of their lives. I can't remember if it was, capital punishment or just life in prison. young kid, and you know the most stern on the opposite side was bringing in his own issues
Yes.
and
Him
projecting them onto this situation, and you eventually discover everybody's motivations by and large
yeah.
as they kind of re-examine this, because Fonda just keeps asking him, and
Yeah.
slowly, it's great how he just keeps pulling one at a time,
Yeah.
one at a time to the chorus on his side. Yeah, I put it at number 3 on my list.
Okay.
I bumped off of Bronx Tale. It makes number 3.
Nice. All right. Fair. What's your number 1 then? Do we have the same one?
My number 1 is Amadeus.
Yes, sir. Amadeus.
There you
Number
go.
1. At least another commonality on this list, but absolutely in the right position, man.
Yeah, that little 30-minute documentary about the making of it, I told you, they open with the fact that once he sits down, Milos Forman, the director, and decides, you know what, this is the play that I want to do. I think he asks maybe who was doing the play or someone else, and they're like, this is unfilmable. Like, you can't, there's no way you can do this in cinematic time frame. And I don't believe Salieri is in the play.
No, Salieri is the narrator of the play. Yes.
Is he? Didn't they change some aspect of Salieri?
It's Mozart that isn't in the play. Like, he is only in his memory or in interaction, in conversation. Yeah, but Salieri is the narrator the entire time on stage. I went and saw it in London, and David Suchet played it, the Poirot guy. He played Salieri, and it was great. And so, that was in '98. So, and so that's what I remember from the entire play, is that he's on stage the entire time. And people come in from his memory, like the priest and whatever, that they're in real time. But then from his memory, people come in. But I don't think you ever see Amadeus, but you hear him laugh off screen, and you hear him off stage, or you hear him do things off stage, but you don't ever see him. So I think that's the thing of the play So it's so good. Peter Shaffer wrote a fantastic play.
It's the pace, the introduction of characters, the court intrigue, and you can see all the various different layers. Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones was Emperor.
Yeah. He's great. Just quote composer. What do you think? Too many notes. Yes, too many notes. What notes would you like me to take out, sire? I will. It's
just got a few. It'll be fun.
Yeah, just this novice, this neophyte who can barely do a simple march, as Mozart comes in the first time that Salieri had written, and Mozart had memorized it on the way in, and they were blown away, which doesn't make a lot of sense because Salieri should be able to do that as well.
Right.
It's a very simple, construct. It's not like it was complex and you have to. But some people, like a photographic memory, have that type of recall on, auditory. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But as it builds and the demise of Mozart and, Salieri's guilt. But I love it when he gets the pages as Mozart is dying and he's reading the master before anybody else, and he can, hear the notes in it, and just blown away. This guy's actively dying right in front of me, and he still writes a masterpiece.
Yeah. To
know that you're cut from the same cloth, but you'll always be found wanting.
Yeah. The requiem of it all, right? I mean, that's the fantastic angle of the play that makes it universal. This idea that there's someone who's always going to be better than me at that, and those are that's the small number. That's why you write material for the vast majority of people to enjoy and connect to. This idea that this guy's obsessed. He's obsessed with wanting to be the best or considered the best, but then he's the only one, right? He says that to God, thanks for making me aware of your creation on earth, the ultimate creation, and then making me aware of how little I am compared to him, and now that I'm aware of that. Then no one else can see it. I can see it, which is my cross to bear and carry in life, and frustration.
But the thing is, it rings of truth. Like, I know the generation that came after Beethoven of composers didn't want to do symphonies because the general consensus was he crushed it so hard that will never compare to the brilliance of Beethoven. So there's like an entire generation of composers that steered clear, that followed him.
Right.
I mean, it happens. And Beethoven, by and large, wasn't the best of people, had his flaws.
Very true.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. We both love it, and I knew it was making the list. It's nice that it's both number one. I can type out. I just got to adjust my laptop to make it a little easier.
Oh, no worries. There was no doubt on my mind that it was going to be number one for me. So as soon as we set this topic, all right, I'm gonna grab the bongos. Let's figure this out.
All right, I will start typing. So Amadeus is number one. I think we can all agree on that. I would probably say 12 Angry Men is next. All right.
Back in so I can hear what you're saying. All right.
So I put Amadeus 1 and 12 Angry Men 2 because that's now my number 3.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
And then where'd you have Glengarry?
Number 7.
All right. So it's 2-7. What's your next highest? Your 2?
My 3, actually, because Amadeus.
Your 3,
my 3 is Henry V.
Well, I'd imagine 2-7 beats a 3.
Okay.
We both have Frost Nixon. We both have a streetcar.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Streetcar's at 8 for me, and Frost Nixon at 10 for me.
Okay, I got Frost Nixon now at 4. Okay. So it's 4-10 versus 6-8.
I think 410 takes that one, don't you?
I think so too. All right, so then we got your 3, Henry V. What's your next highest?
Did you already put in Henry V?
Yeah.
Doubt at 4.
Okay, Doubt it is. Okay. Your next highest?
Throne of Blood at 5.
All right, I got Dial M for Murder. I don't.
How many slots we got left?
We have 3 left.
Okay. Well, yeah. Put in Dial M because I already got like Henry V and Doubt in there. So.
And sorry, yours was
Throne of Blood.
And finally, what's your last highest?
Number 6, Children of a Lesser God.
All right, let's just do that one because.
Okay. Cool, man. Made the list. I'm shocked. All right.
Well, it's that versus my 6, but you just conceded on Dial M. So.
Nice. All right. So there we go. Let's count this thing down and do some bongos. The top 10 movies that became plays. Oh, Jesus. The top 10 movies based on plays. Yeah. At number 10.
Children of a Lesser God.
At number 9.
Throne of Blood.
At number 8.
Dial M for Murder.
At number 7.
Doubt.
At number 6.
Henry V.
At number 5.
A Streetcar Named Desire.
At number 4.
Frost Nixon.
At number 3.
Glengarry Glen Ross.
At number 2.
12 Angry Men.
And our number 1 movie based on a play is
Amadeus.
There it is. Fun stuff. As Matt said, you want to mention any of your honorable mentions real quick before we wrap?
1 or 2 came up on your list.
Okay.
I thought about Hamlet Gibson's, but I have to. So yeah. Not really because there's so many.
Yeah.
That I tried to just keep it as small a list as possible on the side because otherwise it's going to be 25 choices.
It's true. I had Bronxdale on my honorable mentions. Harvey is one that I really considered throwing up there when I found out that was based on a play. Lion in Winter is a fantastic film that I was very close. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's a great little quiet film from Tom Stoppard about those guys. And then Rope. Rope was another one that I was considering.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Yeah. close on that one. All right. Well, there we go. That's the top 10 show. Can't thank you all enough once again for downloading the show on podcast form, or if you're watching us on the YouTube, thank you so much. Please remember to leave comments below. Let us know what you thought. Submit your lists or tweet us your lists, whatever you like to do there. Maybe there are some movies that you think should have been ranked higher that were based on plays because they have a personal connection for you. So let us know all of that. Matt, what else do we have to tell them?
Hit us up over at facebook.com/groups/the top 10 show, all spelled out, or over at patreon.com/the top 10 with the number 10. And you can follow me anywhere at Matt Nost. And please check out my other podcast, Embrace the Hate, with myself and my buddy Rick Ingram, the funniest guy I know. And it's us basically right now, quarantine edition, just shooting the shit as we're dealing with this weird world. But yeah, that's it for me this week.
Nice. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And please come and subscribe to the YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/John Rocha Says. And hey, subscribe to our top 10 YouTube channel as well. We're trying to get up to that point where it can get monetized. We've got to get over 1,000 subscribers and over 4,000 hours of watch time. And then that too can be monetized for Matt and I. So please go over there and subscribe to that as well. Find the top 10. It's always attached in the description. So find it there and subscribe to that channel and give it some love as well. All right, that's it. We'll talk to you next time on the top 10. Peace out.